Have you ever thought that silent ancient trees could become the most crucial witness in a murder case? When scientists from the Missouri Botanical Garden received samples of juniper needles stuck on muddy boots, they had no idea that plant DNA would open a new chapter in forensic science. This is the story of Mengqi Ji, a talented young woman from China who was murdered by her husband and buried in a juniper forest. Could ancient trees tell us the truth about a horrific crime? Welcome to the Case Files, a show exploring real mysterious cases from around the world. I'm your host, and today we'll dive deep into criminal psychology, analyze every detail of the investigation process, and explore the most advanced scientific methods. Today, throughout this journey, we'll meet real people, hear real stories, and learn profound lessons about human nature. Each case is a mirror reflecting society, culture, and the difficult problems humanity faces. In this episode, we're taking a deep dive into the infamous case of the plant DNA case, the tragedy of Mengqi Ji and her marriage from hell. The first case in U.S. judicial history to use plant DNA to convict a murderer, and also a heartbreaking story about domestic violence, cultural differences, and the challenges immigrant women face. Origins from Xi'an, the American dream. The story begins in the ancient city of Xi'an, the former capital of 13 Chinese dynasties. On April 18, 1991, Mengqi Ji was born into a middle-class family. She was a beloved only child with exceptional talent from a young age, from calligraphy and painting to sports. Especially, Mengqi's passion for photography taught her to see the world from different perspectives. Who could have imagined that the photos she took would later become evidence exposing her husband's abuse? With outstanding achievements, Mengqi was admitted to Shanghai University of Science and Technology, choosing mechanical engineering, a field traditionally dominated by men. She worked tirelessly toward her biggest goal, studying in the United States. In 2013, her dream came true when Mengqi was accepted into an exchange program at the University of Missouri-Columbia. In December 2014, Mengqi graduated with a master's degree in mechanical and aerospace engineering with excellent results. She found work at a dental equipment manufacturing company as a materials engineer. The job not only matched her expertise, but was also a stepping stone to building a bright future in America. The fateful meeting. At the company, Mengqi met Joseph Elledge, a 21-year-old American working part-time as an intern. Joseph was tall, conventionally handsome, and more importantly, he showed great interest in Chinese culture. Initial workplace conversations quickly became intimate. Joseph showed understanding and respect for Mengqi's culture, something rare for an Asian woman to find in an American boyfriend. The relationship developed quickly. Joseph took Mengqi to Chinese restaurants, learned simple Chinese, and even suggested visiting China to meet her family. The trip to Xi'an happened in summer 2016. Joseph made a good impression on Mengqi's parents. Following tradition, he formally asked permission to marry their daughter. The sight of an American man respectfully bowing to ask for permission moved Mengqi's parents, believing their daughter would have a happy life. On September 22, 2017, the wedding was held in Columbia, Missouri. It was a wedding combining Western style and Chinese tradition. In wedding photos, Mengqi glowed with a happy smile, holding sunflowers, her favorite flower symbolizing light. Joseph looked at his wife with gentle eyes. Who could have guessed that behind this perfect love story lay the beginning of a bloody tragedy? From heaven to hell. After the wedding, Mengqi and Joseph rented a 70-square-meter apartment in Columbia. Life initially seemed happy. Mengqi often shared sweet moments on social media. Joseph appeared caring and attentive, excited when Mengqi announced her pregnancy. On October 3, 2018, their daughter Anna was born. She was a beautiful baby with big round eyes and a bright smile. The first months after Anna's birth were perhaps the happiest time. To support her daughter, Kay Ren, Mengqi's mother, flew from China to stay in Colombia for several months. However, the mother-in-law's presence began revealing dark sides of Joseph's character. He became irritated when Mengqi and her mother spoke Chinese at home, complaining he felt left out. Although Mengqi explained that speaking one's native language was natural, Joseph remained annoyed and demanded they speak English when he was present. The climax was the cutting board incident in late 2018. Joseph discovered that Kay Ren had mistakenly used the vegetable cutting board to cut meat. Instead of gently reminding her, Joseph became angry and demanded his mother-in-law leave the house immediately. He even threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. Kay Ren, a traditional Chinese woman, felt hurt and humiliated. She was forced to return to China in tears, worried about her daughter. After Mengqi's mother left, Joseph apologized and promised to improve. Mengqi, with love and hope, forgave him. But was this real change, or just a plan to isolate Mengqi from family so he could control her completely? Summer 2019, beginning of tragedy. Summer 2019 marked an important turning point. Joseph received an internship opportunity at a company 3.5 hours away from home. He rented a place near the company and only returned on weekends. Mengqi supported this because she understood it was a good career opportunity for her husband. However, the geographical distance created unexpected tension. During the week, Mengqi was alone caring for Anna, a baby not yet 1 year old. She had to wake up at night when the baby cried, change diapers, breastfeed, and handle everything without support. To earn extra income, Mengqi took translation work at night after Anna slept. She often worked until 2-3 a.m., then had to wake up early to care for the baby. The weekends when Joseph came home should have been happy family time, but instead became tense arguments. Joseph complained that his wife had changed, become distant, and less attentive to him. Meanwhile, Mengqi felt exhausted and lonely, needing support instead of criticism, instead of foamed, dark secrets. What Mengqi didn't know was that Joseph had secretly recorded over 10 hours of their conversations. In these recordings, we see a completely different Joseph, controlling, manipulative, and oppressive. He frequently threatened to deport Mengqi to China if she didn't obey, exploiting her marriage-dependent visa status. "I can tell immigration you abused me," Joseph said in one recording. "They'll deport you to China right away, and you'll never see Anna again." Joseph also constantly criticized Mengqi's appearance, saying she had become ugly after giving birth, and compared her to other women. He forced Mengqi to listen to these hurtful words without being allowed to respond. In August 2019, the pressure reached its peak. Mengqi secretly called a friend to ask about divorce lawyers. She realized this marriage couldn't continue and needed to find a way out. But did Joseph know about this intention, and would he let Mengqi leave peacefully? The fateful night, October 8, 2019. Around 11 p.m. on October 8, 2019, Joseph drove home from his internship. The small Columbia apartment greeted him in silence. Mengqi was in the bedroom with sleeping Anna. No one knows exactly what happened in the following hours, but it was the moment that made a life disappear forever. According to Joseph's later testimony, he and Mengqi had an argument about marital issues, but this wasn't an ordinary argument. Forensic experts later concluded that Mengqi had endured severe violence before her death. Although the body was heavily decomposed when found, signs of broken ribs and skull trauma showed she had been brutally attacked. Did Joseph lose control when he learned Mengqi wanted a divorce? Or was this a deliberate, premeditated act? This question would become central to the trial later. The cover-up plan. After Mengqi's death, Joseph didn't call police or emergency services. Instead, he executed a carefully calculated cover-up plan. That night or early morning of October 9th, Joseph wrapped Mengqi's body in plastic bags, loaded it into his car, and drove to Rock Bridge Memorial State Park, a large forest about 15 minutes from home. He chose an area far from the main trail, where very few people passed. Under the canopy of ancient juniper trees, Joseph dug a hole and hastily buried his wife's body. He thought the forest would keep this secret forever. But Joseph hadn't anticipated one thing. Modern science could make even ancient trees become witnesses. After burying the body, Joseph returned home as if nothing happened. He showered, cleaned the scene, and began the biggest act of his life. The concerned husband. On October 10, 2019, Joseph went to the Columbia police station to report his wife missing. He said that the night before, 10/9, after an argument about caring for Anna, Mengqi had left around 11:30 p.m. He said his wife was only wearing pajamas and didn't take her phone, wallet, or anything else. Joseph claimed he tried calling and searching but couldn't find her. This testimony immediately raised suspicion. Who leaves home at night without taking their phone, money, and most importantly, leaving behind a 1-year-old child? For a mother like Mengqi, who always made Anna the center of her life, this was completely illogical. Police began investigating and quickly found contradictions in Joseph's testimony. He said his wife left at 11:30 p.m. on 10/9, but phone data and security cameras showed Mengqi's last activity was the night of 10/8. The investigation begins. Detective Ryan Ferguson from Columbia Police Department was assigned to the case. With over 15 years of experience, he quickly realized this wasn't a simple missing person case. He began a comprehensive investigation of Joseph Elledge. The first thing Detective Ferguson did was request a warrant to search the Elledge apartment. On October 11, 2019, the investigation team raided the apartment. They discovered many abnormalities. Although Joseph insisted there was no violence, forensic experts found small blood traces in the bedroom corner and on the floor. Using luminol chemical, they saw blood stains that had been cleaned, but traces remained. More interesting, the investigation team found a wall section that had been recently repainted, just a small part, not the entire wall. Why would Joseph repaint a small wall section exactly when his wife went missing? Analysis showed blood traces under the new paint layer. Mengqi's laptop was found, and digital experts recovered the search history. They discovered Mengqi had searched for divorce lawyer, child custody during divorce, and domestic violence. This was clear evidence that Mengqi was planning to leave Joseph. Secret recording device. One of the most important discoveries was the hidden recording device Joseph had installed in the house. He had recorded over 10 hours of conversations with Mengqi without her knowledge. When police listened to these recordings, they were shocked by the image of a Joseph completely different from his gentle exterior. In the recordings, Joseph constantly threatened Mengqi. "You can't live without me. If you leave me, I'll make sure you never see Anna again," Joseph said in one recording. In another, he threatened to report to immigration that Mengqi abused him and Anna to get her deported. But most horrifying was a recording from late September 2019, just weeks before Mengqi disappeared. In it, Mengqi cries and says, "You're killing me slowly. I can't live like this anymore." Joseph responds coldly, "You have no choice. You belong to me." These recordings not only proved psychological abuse, but also showed clear motive. Joseph wouldn't accept Mengqi leaving him. 4. Phone and GPS evidence. Police tech experts extracted all data from Joseph's phone. They discovered an important detail. GPS on the phone showed Joseph went to Rock Bridge Memorial State Park around 1 a.m. on October 9, 2019, just hours after Mengqi disappeared. Joseph explained he went there to look for his wife because he thought she might have walked there. But this explanation was absurd. Why would a woman in pajamas, without a phone, walk in the dark to a forest 15 minutes away by car? And why didn't Joseph call police immediately when he couldn't find his wife at the park? GPS data also showed Joseph stayed at the park for about 45 minutes. He moved deep into the forest, away from the main trail. This further reinforced suspicions that he had gone there to bury the body. Large-scale search. With GPS evidence, police organized a large search at Rockbridge Memorial State Park. Hundreds of police, volunteers, and K-9 units combed through every area of the park, covering over 200 acres. They used drones, thermal cameras, and ground-penetrating radar. However, after weeks of searching, they still couldn't find Mengqi's body. The forest was too vast with complex terrain. Thousands of ancient trees, dense undergrowth, and deep valleys made the search extremely difficult. Some people began doubting whether Mengqi was really in the park. Maybe Joseph had taken the body elsewhere. The investigation seemed to hit a dead end. Breakthrough from the boots. While searching the park yielded no results, the investigation team decided to re-examine evidence from the apartment. One investigator noticed Joseph's work boots, the boots he usually wore to work. The boots had lots of dried mud and plant debris stuck on the soles. Detective Ferguson had a bold idea. He contacted the Missouri Botanical Garden, one of the world's leading plant research centers with experts in plant DNA. He wanted to know if the plant fragments on the boots could tell exactly where in the park Joseph had been. Dr. Christine Edwards, a botanist at the garden, agreed to help. She and her research team carefully collected samples of juniper needles, bark fragments, and seeds stuck on the boots. They also took soil samples for analysis. This was the first time in U.S. judicial history that plant DNA was used as primary evidence in a murder case. Could science make ancient trees testify to the truth? Breakthrough from plant DNA. Dr. Christine Edwards' research team spent weeks analyzing plant samples from Joseph's boots. They used advanced DNA sequencing technology to identify the plant species, and more importantly, identify exactly which individual trees in the park. The analysis results were shocking. Juniper needle samples from Joseph's boots matched a group of ancient juniper trees in a deep area of Rockbridge Memorial State Park, a location far from the main trail where few people went. What's special is that the DNA of these needles not only matched the tree species, but also matched specific individual trees, like human fingerprints. Dr. Edwards explained, each tree has distinct DNA, just like each person. We can identify exactly which trees left needles on the boots. The investigation team immediately focused their search on the area identified by plant DNA. And on March 21, 2021, nearly 18 months after Mengqi disappeared, a search team discovered human remains under the ancient juniper canopy, shallowly buried under soil and dry leaves. Identity confirmation. The body was heavily decomposed, but DNA analysis of teeth and bones confirmed this was Mengqi Ji. Forensic experts also found remnants of pajamas, exactly as Joseph described what his wife was wearing when she left. Forensic examination showed Mengqi had signs of broken ribs and skull trauma, proving she had endured severe violence before death. Although the decomposed body didn't allow exact determination of cause of death, experts concluded she was killed by blunt force trauma, possibly beaten or pushed down hard. On March 25, 2021, Joseph Elledge was officially arrested and charged with first-degree murder, a charge that could lead to life in prison. Dramatic trial. Joseph Elledge's trial began in November 2021 at Boone County Court, Missouri. This was one of the most closely watched cases in Missouri history. prosecutors presented a series of powerful evidence. First were recordings showing Joseph threatened and controlled Mengqi. Next was plant DNA evidence, used for the first time in a U.S. courtroom. Experts from Missouri Botanical Garden explained in detail how they used DNA to trace Joseph's boots to the exact area where the body was found. GPS data from Joseph's phone, bloodstains in the apartment, and Mengqi's search history about divorce were all revealed. The picture became increasingly clear. A controlling man, knowing his wife wanted to leave, decided, "If I can't have you, no one can." Defense attorneys tried arguing that Mengqi's death was an accident during a heated argument. They claimed Joseph panicked after Mengqi died and made the wrong decision to hide the body instead of calling emergency services. However, this argument was hard to believe when facing a mountain of evidence about deliberate preparation and cover-up. No. Family testimony. One of the most emotional moments in the trial was when Mengqi's parents came from China to America to testify. They flew from Xi'an to Colombia, a long and painful journey to seek justice for their daughter. Ren, Mengqi's mother, cried while recounting the cutting board incident and how Joseph kicked her out of the house. She said, "I knew my daughter wasn't safe with this man, but Mengqi loved him and believed things would be okay. I was wrong to let her stay." Ji Jinghao, Mengqi's father, described his daughter as the light of the family, a smart, kind girl with a bright future ahead. He pointed out photos Mengqi took while alive, photos of nature, of daughter Anna, of dreams to build a happy family in America. These testimonies not only painted a picture of Mengqi as a person, but also emphasized the tragedy of immigrant women trapped in violent relationships, afraid to seek help for fear of deportation or losing their children. Verdict and sentence. After 3 days of trial and 8 hours of deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict on November 11, 2021. Joseph Elledge was guilty of second-degree murder, not first-degree as initially charged. The jury explained they found no evidence showing Joseph had premeditated killing Mengqi, a necessary element for first-degree murder. However, they believe Joseph intentionally caused his wife's death in a rage when he learned she wanted to leave him. The jury recommended a 28-year sentence, the maximum possible for second-degree murder in Missouri. Judge Kevin Crane accepted this recommendation and sentenced Joseph to 28 years in prison without parole eligibility. This means Joseph, born in 1996, must serve until at least 2049, when he'll be 53 years old, if granted sentence reduction. Daughter Anna will be 31 years old by then. Failed appeal attempts. Joseph Elledge didn't accept the sentence. He filed multiple appeals with various reasons: ineffective legal counsel, unreliable plant DNA evidence, and procedural violations. In April 2025, Boone County Court officially rejected Joseph's request for a new trial. The judge affirmed that plant DNA evidence was valid and scientifically sound. The investigation was conducted properly, and defense attorneys fulfilled their responsibilities. This ruling marked the legal end of the case, bringing closure, though painful, to Mengqi's family. Anna, the child left behind. One of the most tragic aspects of the case is Anna's fate, just 13 months old when her mother was killed. After Joseph's arrest, a legal battle occurred between Mengqi's family, maternal grandparents in China, and Joseph's family, paternal grandparents in America, for custody of Anna. Ultimately, the court decided to award custody to Anna's paternal grandparents in Missouri, citing a more stable living environment and Anna's existing bond with them. Maternal grandparents in China were granted periodic visitation rights. This was a controversial decision. Many believed Anna should be raised by her mother's family, innocent victims of the tragedy. However, U.S. law prioritizes stability and familiar environment for children. Anna is now 7 years old, growing up without her mother, and with the heavy truth that her father killed her mother. The family is trying to hide this truth as long as possible, but someday, Anna will have to face her painful past. Conclusion. The Mengqi Ji case is not just a horrific murder, but also a warning about many profound social issues. About forensic science. This was the first time in U.S. judicial history that plant DNA was successfully used to convict a murderer. The case opened a new chapter in forensic science, proving that nature can be a silent but powerful witness. Since this case, plant DNA has been applied in many other cases across America. About domestic violence, Mengqi's story reflects the alarming reality of domestic violence in immigrant communities. Many women like Mengqi are trapped in toxic relationships because they fear deportation, losing their children, or don't know how to seek help. According to statistics from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, immigrant women are 1.5 times more likely to become domestic violence victims compared to native women. About control and manipulation, Joseph used Mengqi's dependent visa status as a control tool. This isn't an isolated case. Many abusive partners use victims' immigration status to threaten and prevent them from leaving. U.S. law has protective provisions, like VAWA, Violence Against Women Act, allowing domestic violence victims to apply for independent visas, but many people don't know about these rights. A message: if you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, please remember you're not alone. Many organizations are ready to help, regardless of your immigration status. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, operates 24/7 with interpreters for many languages. Mengqi Ji is gone, but her story lives on and reminds us of the importance of speaking up, seeking help, and never remaining silent in the face of violence. The ancient juniper trees told her story, and now we must continue telling it so no one has to experience a similar tragedy. Thank you for following the case files. If you find this story meaningful, please share it to raise awareness about domestic violence. See you in the next episode, when we'll explore another case from the world of true crime. Stay safe, stay informed, and remember, science never lies, and trees can testify.